I was Eleanor's lapdog trailing behind her for 3 years. When she got drunk, I was the one who picked her up in the middle of the night when she flirted with other guys. I pretended not to see it. When someone asked about our relationship, she glanced at me disdainfully and said scornfully, "Just a dog of mine." But later, I finally woke up and left her, and then she regretted it, crying and begging me to give her another chance. What she didn't know was that I stayed by her side only because I was bound to a lick dog system and had to complete the mission. After completing the mission, I didn't want to have anything to do with her. When it was already 3 a.m. when I received Eleanor's call. Even so, I answered instantly. Her end was noisy with the distinct sounds of men and women laughing and playing. No idea which bar she was drunk at this time. Eleanor's voice was slightly hoarse. "Felix, the first feel awful, come pick me up please, sobs, I want to see you." Eleanor knows exactly how to act cute, softening hearts with just a few words. Truth be told, whether she acted cute or not, I would have gone to pick her up. I was Eleanor's devoted follower, trailing after her for 3 whole years. Whenever she was short on cash, a single phone call to me would instantly bring her a transfer. Whatever she wanted, ID immediately presented to her with both hands the moment she casually mentioned it on WeChat. When she went out with other men, I footed the bill for all their food, drinks, and entertainment. Such things became so commonplace, they hardly raised an eyebrow. Over time, all her friends came to know of my existence. Everyone knew Felix was Eleanor's persistent lapdog, the one she couldn't shake off content without any official status as long as he could remain by her side. Pushing open the private room door, a burst of raucous laughter greeted him. Holy shit, he actually came, truly Eleanor's #1 simp. I'm dying, ha ha ha, who could be as impressive as Eleanor taming such an obedient simp? Eleanor, you might as well start a masterclass. We definitely sign up to learn from you. Eleanor's gang of so-called friends started jeering and mocking me. I'd long grown accustomed to such scenes. It didn't matter. I'd heard far worse insults. These were childish play by comparison. Who could be crueler than Eleanor herself? She knew full well I'd endure these scornful looks, yet still called me to pick her up, all to save face. For 3 years, she never treated me as a real man, just a dog. When she was happy, she'd pet me. When unhappy, she could kick me aside anytime. Eleanor stood at the center of the crowd, radiating powerful energy. With a glance that held 3 parts amusement and 3 parts indifference, she looked at me sideways. Does this even need taming? Some people are just born trash. As she spoke, she glanced at me as if checking whether I was angry. Seeing no reaction from me, she continued, all right, remember to pay up on our bet. I'm heading home first. Then she walked out of the private room without looking back. I followed behind her quietly and obediently. The system chimed in at the right moment. Congratulations, host, the lick dog mission progress is at 73. I was bound to a lick dog system, and upon completing the task, there was a reward of 100 million. So I treated Eleanor like a god of wealth, doing whatever she asked without question. I diligently licked boots for 3 years. Though my simp score only reached 70, I finally made her notice my existence and remember my name. The men around her came and went, but I lasted the longest, even though I wasn't even qualified to be a backup option. But what does it matter? Anyway, it's not like I ever liked her. With great effort, I brought Eleanor to the apartment door. Despite her slender and petite appearance, she was surprisingly strong. Drunk again, she started acting out, grabbing my hand to stop me from leaving. Eleanor, we're home, I said in a forced, gentle voice. No, I don't want to go home. I hate going home. As she spoke, she tried to run into the street again. Helpless, I could only hold her in my arms. Perhaps exhausted, she quieted down for a while. Felix, will you marry me? Come on, so many people like her, plenty of rich second-generation heirs. Throw money at her. How could it ever be my turn? Eleanor was still mumbling something. I freed up one hand and pressed the doorbell. The door soon opened, revealing an unfamiliar man standing inside. Yet another new face. The previous young pup hadn't lasted even a week before being replaced. The man froze momentarily when he saw me, then, after a few seconds, looked at me with mocking laughter. So you're the licking dog Eleanor often mentions. He smiled at me, but the warmth never reached his eyes. What are you doing here? I don't want to see you. Eleanor looked at the man, her expression turning unpleasant. Since we're the perfect match, why are you fooling around outside? The man started walking toward me, raising his fist. Trying to hit me? Honestly, I've got nothing to fear at 6 feet tall. There's no way I'd lose to him in a fight. Ridiculous. But Eleanor threw herself into his arms, her voice tender and lingering. I missed you. When are you coming back? The man stopped what he was doing and focused on comforting Eleanor. I simply watched the scene unfold, feeling nothing. I don't know how long I stood there before Eleanor finally remembered my existence. Felix, you can go now. After uttering those airy words, she didn't spare me another glance, continuing to flirt with that boy. I left without looking back. for Eleanor had always kept an untouchable white moonlight in her heart. After he went abroad to study, he became the unresolved regret in Eleanor's heart. So she began frantically seeking substitutes to satisfy her controlling desires. Often within less than a month, several people around her would be replaced. Eleanor had strikingly aggressive features that left a deep impression at first glance unforgettable. Beautiful and wealthy, she never lacked suitors. I'm completely different from her white moonlight. The white moonlight is quiet and reserved while I'm sunny and outgoing. In today's terms, you could say I have a bit of that naive foolishness. So she never really considered me as an option. When you need my help, you speak softly, but once you're done using me, you tell me to get lost. The next morning, I brought Eleanor some hangover soup I'd made and bought breakfast along the way. The door opened. It was the same guy from yesterday. I tried to give up struggling. The guy's name was Victor, and he was still in college. He probably thought Eleanor was different towards him, speaking arrogantly, "Leave the things and get out." My hands clung tightly to the doorframe, my eyes slightly red. "Please, just let me see her once, okay? Just one glance is enough." Eleanor had just woken up, disturbed by the commotion at the door. Her gaze shifted between me and Victor. "What are you doing, Felix?" Her emotionless words still sent a chill down my spine. Seeing the breakfast I was holding, she smiled and took it. "Thank you. I just mentioned it casually. I didn't expect you to actually go and buy it for me. You're so kind." She casually mentioned in a social media post that she missed the steamed dumplings from her hometown, so I drove halfway across the city all night to get them for her. If she didn't spare me even an extra glance, I'll accept the gesture, but please leave now. Eleanor issued an eviction order. Silently wiping away my tears with 3 parts grievance and 4 parts bewilderment, I imitated her white moonlight. The imitation was indeed spot on. Eleanor froze for a moment. I knew all about Eleanor, every detail of her interactions with her white moonlight, just to make the task a little easier. This time, as always, I performed steadily. As expected, Eleanor found me disgusting and looked at me coldly. "Don't imitate him. Such cheap tricks like dong sure copying. She sure s-frown 1t work on me. They just make me sick." Eleanor urged again, "If they're nothing else, leave now." "Eleanor, can't you be a little less cruel? I'd do anything just to stay by your side," I said hoarsely, my gaze fixed on her. Victor stood behind her watching with amusement. "Tell me, did you really think a few breakfasts would make the goddess fall for you? Don't flatter yourself too much, haha." The boyish mocking words never stopped. "Eleanor, do you hate me that much? 1t you even spare me another glance?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. "Since you're so unwilling to see me, I'll leave. But when you do want to see me, I'll definitely appear." My tears fell drop by drop as my dejected figure vanished from their sight. Once certain they couldn't see me anymore, I spat by the roadside. What kind of idiotic nonsense is this? Would a real man really abandon his career and studies, even risk his life, just to pursue some girl he likes? If it weren't for the money, I wouldn't even glance her way. System, congratulations, host. The simp mission progress has reached 75. Almost there. Once the mission is complete, I'll be completely free. 5 times, and again, despite the cold shoulders, I never gave up my affection for Eleanor. In others' eyes, it seemed I simply couldn't bear to part with Eleanor. At most, I'd stay away for a few days before reverting to my old ways, still groveling. This time was no different, though. I didn't seek Eleanor out in real life. Our WeChat exchanges continued. Mostly, it was just my one-sided messages. Good morning texts, nightly reports about my day, constant check-ins, and caring messages throughout. When the weather turned cold, I'd buy her new clothes, whatever she craved, a single message from her, and I'd have it ready. Eleanor was always surrounded by people with neither time nor inclination to spare me a glance. System, congratulations, host. The Lick Dog mission progress has reached 80. Keep up the good work. Every time money gets involved, the points accumulate a bit faster. So I often splurge on her, hoping to speed up the mission just a little more. Whenever I thought about the final 100 million bonus, all the current sacrifices felt worthwhile. Everything was worth looking forward to. Eleanor treated me like I was invisible, never even acknowledging me when we crossed paths at school. I tried calling out her name, but she completely ignored me. She just rolled her eyes and kept walking. Fortunately, the campus was large enough that our encounters were rare. As I exited the library, I ran straight into Eleanor's top lackey, Henry. He saw me, the smile at the corner of his lips widening as he proudly boasted to those around him. "See, I told you he'd come here." How could he possibly resist the chance to see Eleanor? He even threw a contemptuous gesture my way. How childish. Just a few days apart, and everything changed. What on earth happened? I really want to know. Probably because I wasn't hovering around Eleanor anymore. They were burning with curiosity. What changed? Isn't Felix still a pathetic simp? Only Felix could be this obsessed, still clinging on like this, even after all that. I didn't process it immediately until a familiar voice came from behind. "Felix, you really are like a lingering ghost." If I'd known Eleanor was here, I'd rather die than come to the library. Eleanor continued mockingly, everything you've done disgusts me, you hypocrite. But my greatest wish in life is to be with you, to marry you after graduation, I said pitifully. Don't worry, I'll never like you in this lifetime. Your affection only makes me sick. Get lost, you scum. Eleanor used to pretend, maintaining superficial civility, but now she doesn't even bother hiding her disgust for me. I ignored it, reciting my lines like a robot. Eleanor, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me if my affection has caused you distress? I'll never appear before you again. You can punish me however you want as long as you are still willing to talk to me. Woo-woo. You got angry for me. Is that your way of showing you care? Do you actually miss me a little deep down? Now, it was Eleanor's turn to fall silent. Do you actually have feelings for me? Maybe you just haven't realized it yet, baby. Even though I knew it was utterly impossible. Eleanor hesitated, as if slightly moved, but someone called her name, and she turned to leave without another word. 7 had been a long time since I last saw Eleanor. Even if we met again, we'd be nothing more than strangers. I'd been saving all the bonuses from the Lick Dog system just so I could start my own business after graduation and build my own team. Thanks to Eleanor, I'd managed to accumulate some connections. The startup phase kept me extremely busy handling everything for the entire team alone, left me no time to waste on pointless entanglements with Eleanor. Never expected to see her again at the university's centennial celebration. That day she wore a red dress bold, an eye-catching in the crowd, drawing many gazes. There was curiosity, admiration, appreciation, as well as affection and covetousness. And walking beside her was still Victor. Dressed in an expensive suit, he carried himself with noble elegance. The two of them were a perfect match, at least that's what everyone thought. Victor was truly different from all those men before him. To have stayed by Eleanor's side for so long without being cast aside, he truly had remarkable skills. Eleanor had never taken the initiative to bring anyone to such events before. This time was an exception. At that time, I was recruiting talent for my startup, trying to persuade a senior female student to join. The senior was very kind with a gentle smile that made her eyes curve like crescent moons, but in reality, she wasn't too easy to talk to. No matter how much I pleaded, she would only smile and say she'd think about it. I trailed behind her, continuing my persuasion. I didn't notice and actually ran into Eleanor head on. She was chatting and laughing with Victor when she caught sight of me in her peripheral vision, and her face immediately darkened. Victor noticed the change in her mood, his smile unwavering as he gently turned her face back toward him. Their eyes met in a deep, lingering gaze. The crowd gasped in astonishment. I noticed Victor was wearing the watch I had once given to Eleanor. My family background is modest. That time, Eleanor posted on her moments, saying she wanted this watch, so I scrimped and saved for months to buy it for her. All she had to do was open her mouth and say thank you. And now, she casually gave the gift I gave her to Victor. How generous. Eleanor was still keeping an eye on me out of the corner of her vision. I ignored her probing gaze and continued explaining our company's advantages to my senior colleague. But my act of disregarding Eleanor like this made her unhappy. Eleanor's face darkened as she strode toward me under everyone's watchful eyes. Truth be told, I had no idea what she was going to do. Slap! A crisp sound of a hand striking flesh rang out. A burning pain flared across my right cheek. I froze, momentarily rooted to the spot. What is going on? I didn't even do anything. Why would Eleanor hit me? But my good upbringing kept me from cursing, and I'm not the type to hit a woman either. I did my best to suppress the anger rising in my chest. My eyes reddened slightly as I looked at Eleanor with an expression of hurt and disbelief. Taking a beating for nothing was out of the question. This was the perfect opportunity to score points. It took Eleanor several minutes to realize what she had done, her hand still hovering awkwardly in midair. She looked at me in disbelief, not even understanding why she felt that way herself. Eleanor's mouth opened and closed as she struggled to speak, wanting to apologize, but unable to utter a single word. She was someone who compromised easily, let alone apologize to me. Eleanor, what exactly have I failed to do well enough? You can point it out, and I'll work on improving. Eleanor was still lost in disbelief, not paying attention to my words. I gazed at her intently, yet dared not speak. Seeing my obedient demeanor, Eleanor momentarily spaced out. Sorry, I'll leave now, I said in a flat tone. Then he simply went with the flow, stubbornly walking away, leaving behind a pitiful silhouette. It wasn't until Victor silently walked up to her and took Eleanor's hand that she finally reacted. She had just wanted to ask why he hadn't come looking for her. Yet he did such terrible things to me. Her emotions were complicated. System. Congratulations, host. The Lick Dog mission is 85 complete. Keep up the good work. To others, I appeared to be a man heartbroken by love. But no one knew I was actually quite happy. Finally, I could temporarily escape her. Fortunately, after witnessing the scene, my senior didn't mock me as a lick dog. Instead, she joked with thought you were quite the devoted lover. At least her tone wasn't as businesslike as before. That meant there was still hope. 9. The senior student was named Florence. Glancing at my swollen right cheek, she suggested, "Do you want me to help you with that?" Without any false modesty, I replied, cheerfully, "Sure, thanks in advance, senior, you're so kind." She took me to the infirmary. Florence took out some ice for me to press against my face, her movements gentle. After tending to my face, Florence asked me, "They treated you like this, aren't you gonna get back at them?" My senior said she'd help me hold the fort for a while and pull me along to find Eleanor. I'd forgotten how long it had been since anyone cared about me. I know she meant, well, it's fine, really, I'm used to it. I want to be sad over these things, they're not worth it. Retribution will come when the time is right, I said, earnestly looking into her eyes. When I've truly achieved something great, I'll make them regret everything they've done right now. The most important thing is to bring you, senior, into the team. Florence blinked, perhaps a little embarrassed by my intense gaze. "Thank you, I'll give it serious consideration." It had been half a month since the unpleasant parting with Eleanor during the centennial celebration, and I hadn't gone to bother her since. Not only had I not taken the initiative to chat with Eleanor, but even my replies to her QQ and WeChat messages had become sparse and lukewarm, often delayed. In real life, whenever I saw her, I made sure to steer clear. Completely different from before. But my life is fulfilling, I'm doing what I love. I wonder if Eleanor might feel unaccustomed for a few seconds given such a drastic change, then start missing the days when I was around. Whether she misses me or not, I'm throwing myself wholeheartedly into my startup. In the end, it was Eleanor who couldn't hold back and messaged me on WeChat asking to meet at her usual spot tomorrow afternoon. The so-called usual spot was the restaurant where I first took Eleanor when I started being her lick dog. Back then, she was in a bad mood despite not being much of a drinker. I forced myself to keep up with her, listening to her vent her frustrations. Everything began there, and now it will end there too. I replied, okay. Yet when the agreed time arrived, there was no sign of her. Every call I made was promptly hung up. My phone vibrated. Eleanor casually sent a message, busy. What's the big deal? His white moonlight has returned to the country. She posted old photos with her white moonlight on social media. The white moonlight is named William. They met in high school and were once an enviable couple, but ultimately couldn't withstand the challenges of reality. The moment he announced his return, Eleanor rushed to the airport without delay to pick him up. And someone as insignificant as me had long been forgotten by her cast to the winds. System congratulations, host. The Lick Dog system progress has reached 90. We hope the host will continue to strive. Just one final step remained. 11. I had no reason to feel sentimental. Packaged the food and headed to Eleanor's house. As expected, she was hosting a welcome banquet today for her beloved William, her white moonlight. All her dubious friends would be there. Sure enough, no one came to answer after ringing the doorbell several times. In the end, I had to call an auntie I knew before to finally get in. The atmosphere was electric with men and women playing openly. At the center of the crowd were William and Eleanor kissing. Lost in the heat of passion, they couldn't tear themselves apart. Eleanor truly liked William. As for whether William had ulterior motives that remained unknown, I watched all this unfold with cold detachment. Yet even hidden in the corner, I was eventually discovered. Henry still acted the same as before, crooking his finger to beckon me closer. Once again wanting me to run errands, fetch his tea and water, then sneering while promising to put in a good word for me with Eleanor. This time I didn't want to have anything more to do with them. What's the matter, bro? Did your legs break? Or do you have some other disability? Why do you always make others do everything for you? Henry's face darkened. Even if you're genuinely disabled, you should still have strong aspirations. What a disappointment to your parents. How can a grown man not know how to rely on his own strength to get what he wants? Henry was so furious, he couldn't speak for a long while. His face flushed crimson. You watch out, or I'll badmouth you in front of Eleanor. Seriously, this guy is an idiot if he thinks that is a threat. Funny, Eleanor means nothing to me. 12. Eleanor kept crying, throwing herself into William's arms as she poured out her longing. The time had come. I pushed through the crowd, my hair disheveled, looking utterly wretched. Eleanor, my eyes red and voice breaking, don't you want me anymore? The noisy crowd instantly fell silent. All eyes were darting among the three of us, their expressions clearly relishing the unfolding drama. Eleanor's face darkened. What are you doing here? Who let you in? She had many more questions to hurl at me, but I was sobbing uncontrollably, cutting a truly pitiful figure. William gave me a nasty glance. So, this is the substitute you found? TSK, poor taste. Eleanor pushed me away impatiently. I already said, I don't want to see you. Why are you here now? Eleanor, didn't we agree to talk? How could you forget? My voice choked with emotion. That was before. I don't want to talk to you. Now, Eleanor let out a light laugh. She was laughing at my foolishness and naivety. But I really do like you. My gaze remained fixed on her. Then let me make it clear to you now. Eleanor walked toward me. Slap, a second strike in front of everyone. She slapped me again. Got now, get lost. System congratulations, host. The Lick Dog mission is complete. 100 million bonus has been deposited. A scornful smile curled at the corners of my lips. The end was finally in sight. 13. Another of Eleanor's lackeys, Anthony, stepped in to mediate. Eleanor, don't be angry, Felix. Surely, didn't he mean it? How about this? I'll propose a toast to everyone as thank for the time we shared. With that, he downed his drink in one gulp and then handed the empty glass to me. Anthony and Eleanor grew up together, sharing a bit of affection between them. Eleanor calmed down and looked at me with interest. Unexpectedly, they didn't get to see me compromise. I wasn't in the wrong to begin with. Why should I back down? I have a weak stomach back. When I accompanied Eleanor to social events, I had to drink on her behalf. People kept handing me glass after glass until my vision blurred from intoxication. The first time I drank until my stomach hemorrhaged was excruciating. I couldn't see anything clearly before me, while Eleanor was too busy chatting with her girlfriends to notice me. In the end, it was a kind stranger who called 120 emergency services for me. In that time, Eleanor didn't even come to visit me in the hospital, even though I fell ill because of her. She truly heartless. No need, I'll leave this place, and we'll be even from now on. Anthony's face showed a hint of discomfort, but he didn't let it show. All right then, best of luck, Anthony said. William was displeased without Eleanor's approval. Do you really think you can leave today? Speaking of which, I do like to ask, Mr. William, does living off a woman taste good? Relying on Eleanor to solve everything for you, don't you feel a sense of accomplishment? Such a foolish man, depending on a woman, yet never bothering to better himself. Serves you right for achieving nothing all those years abroad, only knowing how to flirt around with others. True strength never places hope in others, only the weak beg for help. At this point, everyone present looked somewhat displeased. Eleanor was essentially the core of their social circle. Offending her would mean no peace in the future. More William was Eleanor's Achilles heel. No matter how unreasonable he was, she always turned a blind eye. I was the first one bold enough to say it outright. The money is already in my account. Do I still need to suck up to her? If you have time, remember to eat more walnuts to nourish your brain. I turned and said to Eleanor, wouldn't want your judgment impaired, making you blind enough to fall for trash. Then I completely ignored her furious glare and turned to Anthony. Anthony, I respect you as a true man. Would you be interested in joining our team? Anthony was one of the few decent people in this group, loyal to his friends and well-mannered. Back when I just helped him with a small favor, he gave me a considerable sum to tide me over. Moreover, he was genuinely skilled. From what I knew, many major companies were trying to poach him. Stop right there, Felix. It was Eleanor's voice, clearly tinged with anger. What is the matter, Miss Eleanor? Need me to bring you some walnuts? Coincidentally, my family grows walnuts. I'll give you a 50% discount, I said cheerfully. Eleanor was too furious to speak, glaring at me. You'll regret this. Eleanor spat out these words before grabbing William's hand and storming out of the party. The thing I regret most in life is ever meeting you, Eleanor. I watched her retreating back as I enunciated each word clearly. Eleanor's body visibly stiffened, but she quickly regained composure and hurried away. With Eleanor gone, many guests left the banquet. Naturally, I had no interest in staying either. Anthony offered to drive me home. Neither of us spoke during the ride. Only his intermittent sighs filled the silence. He must have feelings for Eleanor too. After all those years by her side, watching her grow step by step, yet their relationship could only remain superficial. For so long he watched as the people around Eleanor came, and when he knew he never stood a chance. But today, he suddenly let it all go. As I got out of the car, he suddenly called out to me, Felix, it's been a pleasure working with you. Another cooperative partner secured. Eleanor and William frequently appeared at high-profile venues flaunting their affection. She even splurged a fortune just to bring a smile to William's face. Victor, her former flame, went to see Eleanor camping outside her doorstep for a full day and night just to demand an explanation. But the outcome humiliated him. Eleanor didn't even glance at it, casually remarking now that the real one is back, what used as a substitute. Then she began getting intimate with William right in front of him. Furious, Victor swung his fist hard at William. William, frail and sickly since childhood, couldn't withstand the blow and fainted on the spot, spending several days hospitalized. But I heard Eleanor didn't visit him in the hospital. When Anthony told me these things, I just smiled faintly and listened as entertainment, not taking it to heart. Florence handed me the compiled materials she had gathered. Though we hadn't known each other long, I always felt like we'd been acquainted for years. A single glance is enough to understand each other's thoughts, working in perfect harmony. Tonight, as the bidding competition, any claim of not being nervous would be a lie. But this time it's win or lose, so we must summon every ounce of focus. Florence flashed a radiant smile. Felix, we're definitely going to succeed. My heart was pounding rapidly. 15. Seeing William at the bidding site really surprised me. At that time his face was still bandaged, his head swollen and oversized. The whole sight was both comical and pitiful, almost too painful to look at. I couldn't help but let out a light chuckle. Even if Eleanor liked him, she couldn't protect him forever. Without real capability, one can't go far. It's just gilded on the surface but rotten at the core. Besides, Eleanor only liked his appearance anyway. William glared at me with a vicious look in his eyes. I ignored him and continued discussing with Anthony. William stepped out to make a phone call, probably trying to get Eleanor's help. But despite countless calls, not a single one went through. The bidding went smoothly, and we won. William was even more furious, grinding his teeth to the point of breaking, but there was nothing he could do. When Eleanor arrived, he saw her as a savior and immediately ran to her, pouring out his grievances. But Eleanor had no patience for his whining and waved him away impatiently. "All right, you should head back if there's nothing else." William was left standing at the door, his mood gloomy and bitter. What he didn't know was that during his time in the hospital, Eleanor had gotten back together with Victor. Perhaps she couldn't let go of Victor's thoughtfulness and tenderness. Even if William knew, there was nothing he could do. After all, he depended on Eleanor for his livelihood, and couldn't afford to make a scene. It was easier to turn a blind eye and let it pass. The relationships between these men and women were truly complicated. Eleanor walked straight toward me, bypassing William entirely. Perhaps it was because I had dressed up nicely today, looking very different from my usual unkempt appearance, that Eleanor didn't recognize me. Handsome mind exchanging contact info, she said in an intentionally cutesy voice, batting her eyelashes playfully. "Eleanor, it's Felix," the first snorted with laughter. Having no interest in wasting time with her, I turned and walked away. Eleanor froze in place for a moment, and by the time she reacted, I was already far away. "I told you this place was outrageous." Who knows what Eleanor was feeling, but I was in a great mood. With a successful bid, the company would soon be back on track. "Congratulations, President Felix," Anthony joked half-heartedly. "When you rise to greatness in the future, don't forget those of us who fought alongside you. Of course, when the company goes public, everyone will get shares," I said solemnly. "The best way to solidify loyalty is to offer sufficient benefits, uniting everyone on the same front." "Great," Anthony downed a glass of wine. "This is exactly why we admire President Felix's boldness. I never knew you had a talent for business, ha ha ha. At first we all thought you were just after Eleanor's money." Anthony got drunk and started reminiscing about the old days, including how I fawned over Eleanor, what Eleanor said about me behind my back, and all sorts of messy rumors. But looking back now, it all feels like ancient history. My career was on the right track. During these 3 years by Eleanor's side, I had been playing the fool. Someone as idolized as her dislikes those smarter than herself. She prefers those who are easy to handle better, yet those wholly devoted to her, living solely for her sake. So I pretended to be that way, even though nothing actually happened between us. It wasn't until graduation season that I tactfully left. 16 one night, I suddenly received a call from Henry. He said Eleanor was completely drunk at the bar, repeatedly murmuring my name. So Henry asked me to bring Eleanor home. I found it quite amusing. "Dude, can't you just take a cab? Are you really so down on your luck that you can't even afford cab fare? If you're really broke, I can lend you some." The Shin family company has recently been facing financial deficits, leaving the entire group in a state of panic. Meanwhile, Eleanor, the designated heir, is completely immersed in a life of debauchery, accomplishing nothing. I don't know if I can hold out until the day she rises to power to watch the show. "Ancestor, I'm begging you to come see. She says if you don't come today, she'll jump in the river." Henry wailed and pleaded for me to pick up Eleanor. "Oh, she has got the guts, then let her jump. Stop yelling at me. It's annoying," I replied coldly. I refused, but Henry kept making a scene. Annoyed by his pestering, I had no choice but to agree to go check it out. "This is the last time. Don't come looking for me again." I took a taxi to the place Henry had mentioned. By the time I arrived, Henry was nowhere to be seen. Eleanor stood alone, leaning against the railing, her clothes disheveled. Her makeup was smeared, her face pale, all traces of her former pride and beauty gone. She swayed unsteadily out of humanitarian concern. I stepped forward and grasped her wrist. Eleanor was truly drunk, her words slurred and indistinct. "Let go of me. I can't take it anymore. No one cares about me. Anyway, no one truly likes me. I might as well die. Get away from me. Don't touch me. I want to see Felix. Tell him to come see me. Then I'll go with you." I gripped her shoulders and stared into her eyes. "Look closely. Who am I?" She was startled by my shout and finally got a clear look at my face, stopping her nonsense. Felix, Eleanor's voice was unmistakably filled with delight. She threw herself into my arms, rubbing my face. "It's really you. Why did you take so long, woo-woo? Do you know how long I've been waiting? I thought I wouldn't see you today. I thought you hated me to death. I missed you so much. I was so scared you wouldn't come to see me. I'm sorry, baby. It was all my fault before. Forgive me. Okay, let us start over." "Okay." Eleanor tugged at my arm, acting cute and coquettish. But the stench of alcohol on her made me nauseous. "Stop talking. I'm taking you home." I restrained her hands to keep her from thrashing. Eleanor cried even harder. "No, I want to go back. That place was never my home." Eleanor sobbed uncontrollably, her words slurring through tears. I took a deep breath, patiently keeping my composure. "Felix," Eleanor called my name. "I'm here. Speak your mind properly. I'm right here." At this moment, the priority was to stabilize her emotions first. Eleanor sniffled and finally stopped crying. I really want to tell you my story. She began to speak. Eleanor was the only daughter in her family on the surface. She was glamorous, showered with endless affection, had a bright future ahead, and was the object of everyone's envy and admiration. She was dealt a winning hand from the very start. Unfortunately, only she herself knew she wasn't truly happy. Her father had an affair and maintained another family outside their home. That illegitimate child, almost her age, would constantly flaunt and boast in front of her. Her mother's oppressive upbringing since childhood suffocated her, yet she couldn't fight back. Under such family influences, she grew sensitive and suspicious, trusting no one. From a young age, she knew that everyone who approached her had ulterior motives. None were sincere, merely seeking to curry favor with Eleanor, the heir to her family's fortune. Yet she delighted in playing along with them, engaging in superficial performances with effortless ease. But William treated her exceptionally well, declaring his love passionately and directly showing his affection with careful consideration and helping her without expecting anything in return, so she was moved. It was her first time falling for someone naive but genuine. But William didn't tell her about going abroad, leaving without a word. She was both angry and confused over time. That youthful resentment turned into an obsession. She could no longer distinguish between what was real and what wasn't. So the day William returned to the country, she rushed over without delay, desperate for an explanation. The moment she saw William, all her defenses melted away. Because William bought her the cake she liked. She thought William still had feelings for her. But in truth, William had long been turned against her. William stole Eleanor as confidential family documents for his illegitimate child, and even the always aloof Eleanor was defeated, abandoned by all. No one was willing to associate with her anymore. She looked utterly wretched. Felix, you're all I have left. Eleanor kept repeating those words all the way home. I paid no attention to her sudden whim. Even if Eleanor's family went bankrupt, her mother would still ensure she lived comfortably. Just without the former extravagance, her life wouldn't be materially affected. 18. Eleanor said she wants to pursue me again. She claimed that only after I left did she realize her feelings for me. I retorted that not affection, you're just unaccustomed to suddenly losing your devoted admirer. And that admirer had faithfully adored her for 3 whole years. She looked into my eyes with an unusual gleam, saying earnestly, no, I've seen my heart clearly now. I want to seriously date you with marriage in mind. Eleanor started sending me good morning and good night messages on WeChat, constantly sharing snippets of her daily life, texting me about everything and nothing, keeping me updated on her whereabouts. Just like how I used to be as a simp. No, even more fervently. I never replied, pretending not to see them. Yet the moment I didn't respond, she would bombard me with more messages. Never giving up was probably her only redeeming quality. Eleanor stood at the foot of the teaching building all afternoon, just waiting for me. But she turned a deaf ear. Within days, Eleanor began boldly declaring her love. She stood out in the crowd, dressed in a flowing white dress. Holding a bouquet of vibrant red roses, she walked toward me step by step. Sorry, but I already have someone I like. I didn't take the roses from her, unwilling to be part of this farce. She might have some feelings for me, but not much love. And this kind of emotion is as unreliable as the moon reflected in water. I want and can't accept her confession. Unexpectedly, Eleanor looked unconvinced. You're just saying that despite me, aren't you? What happened before is in the past. Give me a chance to turn over a new leaf. I didn't respond to her remark. Please have some self-respect. I want to give up so easily, Eleanor shouted behind me. The next day, the third day, the fourth day. The same situation repeated each time. I thought she'd last 3 days at most. She drove me to the brink of insanity. One afternoon, I finally couldn't take it anymore and went to ask Florence to pretend to be my girlfriend. She hesitated for a moment, then agreed. Eleanor's eyes instantly reddened when she saw Florence and me holding hands with our fingers intertwined. Felix, are you abandoning me too? She tugged at the hem of my clothes, her voice breaking. I mercilessly shook off her hand. Eleanor, your life isn't just about me, nor is it just about so-called love. To love others, you must first love yourself. Isn't relying on yourself better than pinning your hopes on someone else. Please take a good look at yourself first, okay? I can understand that she grew up lacking love, so she longs for someone to stay by her side. What she craves is pure, genuine love. But perhaps that kind of love never truly existed. Only when both parties invest in the relationship can it last long. Without wasting any more time on Eleanor, I grabbed Florence's hand and ran. The howling wind in my ears merged with the pounding of my heartbeat. Finally stopping, I looked at Florence. Shall we be together? She nodded gently in agreement. I knew then I had found my moon and the harbor for the rest of my days. 19. Eleanor finally stopped bothering me. The company had numerous tasks, and I was swamped with work. Fortunately, Anthony and Florence could help me negotiate collaborations. After 2 years of hard work, I finally achieved remarkable success. One day, I went to the company as usual. Suddenly, a man rushed out halfway, looking vaguely familiar. but his overly long hair covered his eyes and his clothes were tattered and ragged. A foul stench wafted into my nostrils, nearly making me vomit. The moment he spoke, I knew exactly who he was. Clearly Eleanor liked me. At first, how did you manage to steal her away? I'll make you pay with your life. You took the most important person from me. Holy shit, he actually came truly Eleanor's #1 simp. Then he swung a kitchen knife straight at me. The scene descended into chaos. I accidentally tripped and unfortunately fell. Just as I was welcoming death, suddenly a frail and slender figure rushed out from the corner to shield me. I'm sorry, Felix, those were her last words. What happened afterward was even more chaotic. I have no memory of it. They said Eleanor took dozens of slashes from the deranged William to protect me, and her survival was nothing short of a miracle. After William had a falling out with Eleanor back, then he accidentally offended another big shot and was constantly suppressed, forced to live in fear day after day. Back then, the arrogant Victor wasn't he much better off either. During school, he only thought about clinging to the wealthy, and after graduation, he couldn't find a job a few years ago. He also jumped to his death because of nude loan scandals. Karma always comes around in the end. Since Eleanor got hurt because of me, I should still go see her. The hospital room was quiet. Eleanor's eyes lit up the moment she saw me arrive. You're here. She quickly motioned for me to sit down. Neither of us spoke another word, and an awkward silence filled the air. Eleanor, I came to say goodbye this time. I didn't hide anything and answered truthfully. Judge ya and I are going to discuss a business deal today, and we want to be back for quite some time. Eleanor's eyes turned red as she bit her lip, saying nothing. Until we meet again was all I could say. Stepping out of the ward, I immediately embraced Florence. Then holding Florence's hand, we walked step by step toward the future that belonged solely to the two of us.